Hey guys, if you have a really long list of diagnoses that you have been given by your doctor or a series of doctors, things that are very physical sounding in nature that tell you that there is something, structurally wrong or abnormal in your body, it's understandable if you are thinking that all of this talk about brain retraining and nervous system regulation really has nothing to do with you and probably isn't going to help you all of that much. And 100%, there are obviously a lot of things that go on in our body when we don't feel well that have a physical origin and need a physical intervention to alleviate the symptoms and to fix whatever's going on. However, after you go to your doctor and you rule out all of that, a really important thing to understand is that the latest brain science is telling us is that in the overwhelming majority of cases, when symptoms are chronic, so when you have symptoms long term, they are neuroplastic in nature. And what this means is that they can be reduced and often completely eliminated for good through tools such as brain retraining and nervous system regulation. And I get that right now, this might be a hard thing to wrap your head around and a hard thing to believe, and that is normal. I get it. It took me a long time to get to where I am now in this understanding of all of this. So being skeptical is okay. I just ask that you stay curious. It's good for you for even watching this video because that tells me that you're being open-minded about all of this. So just, leave that little crack in the door open and be willing to investigate and listen and check it out and just see what this is all about. There are many really understandable reasons that we all hold on to these diagnoses that we're given. Such a long list. And part of it goes back to how our brain is wired in the first place and all the things we've been taught growing up. So the doctor told us this, we have this, we have to wait for them to figure it out, give us a pill, give us an injection, some kind of surgery that's going to fix it. And when I first got chronic fatigue syndrome at the beginning of my 10-year journey, I started getting more and more diagnoses from my functional medicine doctor. And the more I got, the more reassuring it actually was because my symptoms were so debilitating. I couldn't work. I couldn't do pretty much anything. And when you okay, I have these 9 different things, that makes sense. No wonder I'm not even functioning. And it's something believable and understandable that you can tell people while you're not working, while you're not participating in social activities. So it really makes a lot of sense. And it also, puts the onus on the doctor to fix all of this because you think, I have no medical training. I can't resolve all of this, which is in a way reassuring because I think that's overwhelming. I can't possibly be the one in charge of fixing all of this. But when we learn about the science, really amazing, fascinating. My favorite thing to learn about how the brain and the nervous system generate symptoms in the first place, and then understanding the process that is happening, why they become chronic, we start to see all the dots connecting and we start to understand the bigger picture. And it's really important, of course, to point out and emphasize that symptoms are real. No matter what, no kind of symptoms are imagined. No kind of symptoms are all in your head. None of this invalidates the suffering that you've gone through. The symptoms that are neuroplastic in nature, meaning they can be reversed by brain retraining and nervous system regulation, are just as real as if someone had severed one of your limbs with a knife. They are just as intense, just as painful, and just as real because our brain and our nervous system create all of those symptoms, whether they're acute or they're long-term. So if you are feeling them, if you are experiencing them, they are real and just as real as any other symptom that anybody on the planet has ever had or will ever had. And another really important thing to understand about this, and is also fascinating, the power of our brains, is that when this is happening with these neuroplastic symptoms, it doesn't mean that physical things aren't happening in your body. Your brain and nervous system can do all sorts of things. It can change your heart rate. It can change your blood pressure. It can change your heart rate variability. It can decrease oxygenation to your muscles and create pain. It can do so many different things. So even though they're neuroplastic in origin, there are still physically detectable things happening in your body. It is very complex. And I know it can sound very dismissive, but I promise it is real. And this is how the body works. And the more you learn about it, the more equipped you are to handle symptoms and know what keeps them going and why they're sticking around and know how to get rid of them. I have so many people reaching out to me over the years or leaving comments on the videos here and saying things like, well, I have POTS, or I have mitochondrial issues, or I have IBS, I have fibromyalgia, I have bulging discs, like I have this stuff going on. Is this going to work for me? And here with this one is the insight that changes absolutely everything. Every adult human on the planet has something called normal abnormalities, meaning that there isn't an adult human alive that if you scan them head to toe, you're not going to find a whole bunch of things that are not optimal in their body, that are abnormal. You're going to find things in their brain. You're going to find things in their bones, things in their spine. You're going to find latent viruses and bacteria in their gut and candida and other yeasts and all sorts of things going on. Dr. Howard Schubiner, who is just leading the way in the science and the treatment of these sorts of chronic conditions and chronic symptoms, talks about this as like the gray hair of your body. It's a natural and normal part of getting older, and everybody has this wear and tear in your body. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's problematic, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs any sort of treatment, and it definitely doesn't necessarily mean that it is the cause of your symptoms. And a really important thing to understand about all this, I wish I had known this years ago when I was going through my 10 years of chronic fatigue syndrome, but is that acute symptoms, so short-term symptoms, and chronic long-term symptoms are completely different in nature, and they're handled by completely different regions of the brain, meaning there is a completely different approach to alleviating them. And Alan Gordon, another trailblazer in this space, he runs the Pain Psychology Center here in California and has a very data-driven, science-backed approach to treating chronic symptoms, tells us that there is virtually no correlation between the level of structural damage in your body and the severity of symptoms that you're experiencing when it comes to chronic long-term symptoms. Because you can do a scan of somebody head to toe and they're going to show virtually nothing off in their body, but they have all of these symptoms and they're in a world of pain. Whereas someone else, you'll give them that same scan, they're going to have stuff all over the place. It's going to look like they should be barely functioning and they have no symptoms. So the good news in all of this is that even if you have 19 different symptoms or more, and they are severe and debilitating, it's not a reflection of what is broken in your body or how likely you are to be able to turn these around. So don't let your normal abnormalities be the thing, be the justification that you use for you not being open-minded to learning more about brain retraining and nervous system regulation and seeing if this is something that could help for you. One of the things, oh my goodness, that breaks my heart the most is thinking about the hundreds of millions of people on the planet that are facing conditions like ME/CFS and long COVID, and knowing that there is at least a significant chunk of those people that could completely alleviate their symptoms through these nervous system regulation approaches. But understandably, they either just don't have the information, the doctors aren't telling them, or they're hearing it on YouTube and it doesn't sound like a real thing. So they shut it down and they stay stuck and suffering. And one of my favorite things in my life is when I read comments here on YouTube when someone says, you know what, I was closed-minded to this for a long time. It didn't make a lot of sense. I just wasn't willing to consider it. But then something happened in this one video of yours or whoever's video, and it just clicked. And I started to see that it made sense. Now I've started using these strategies and I'm feeling so much better. And I just get goosebumps head to toe and it makes my day because I know what a nightmare it can be to be living with these conditions. And I just really hope that, being closed-minded to the newer science isn't something that's holding people back. And I know it's challenging. I think about with my journey, partway through early on, I was really depressed, severely, severely depressed and hopeless and feeling like giving up. And I went into an appointment with my functional medicine doctor, and we were going over some recent results, and it tested positive for Lyme disease. And he said, "You have chronic Lyme disease." And that was like winning the lottery. I was so excited. My depression went from about a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10 to maybe like a 5. I'm like, this has a name. It sounds real. There are books written about it. There are treatments. And I'm not saying that Lyme disease isn't a real thing. Of course it is. And if you have it, seek treatment. However, in my case, I did the heavy doses of long-term antibiotics that made me really, really sick and all of the supplements, and it didn't help me at all. In fact, it was making me worse. And even at the time, I was thinking, oh, like I so badly want to cling on to this. But my mother also had the same symptoms as me, as did her grandmother. So I thought, what are we, like 3 generations of people that all got Lyme disease? Doesn't quite add up, but I was like, blah, blah, blah. Nope, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. I have Lyme disease. I have Lyme disease. I have Lyme disease. Clinging so hard to it. And over the years, I came to learn that there are many cases where there are just small amounts of Lyme in your body that are going to show up on tests, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an active infection and that it's what's causing all of your symptoms. And that ended up being the case for me. A really great way to think about how to slowly let go of these diagnoses, and it is something that's going to take time, was something that was explained in an interview I did with the absolute rock star guru in this field, Nicole Sachs. I'll link it above. You can click on it. It will open in a new tab. It is an absolute must watch. Even if you've already seen it, watch it again. Every word is pure gold, and her time is very sought after. So to have her right here in your living room is truly a great thing for your journey. But she talks about something that she does with her clients, and it's this index card exercise. And you can do this as well. And what you do is you take all of your diagnoses and you write them down, each one on its own individual index card. And how she explained it in this interview is that she shared a case of one woman who wrote them all down, and she said, now which are you willing to consider might actually be nervous system regulation issues as opposed to what you've written down? She's like, I know it's hard. Take your time. You don't have to do it now, but just start thinking about which ones you might be ready to let go of. And she was looking at them, and she was, just really like, I don't know. I just don't know if I can let go of any of them. But then she thought about one that was multiple chemical sensitivities. And at first she was saying, well, I can't let go of this one because there's this lacquer or something on the floor in the gym at the school I work at. And every time I go in the gym, I get a migraine. It's like, that's real. There's no disputing that. Like this one, this is a thing. But the more they talked about it and broke it down, she started to see, actually, it's not every time I go in the gym. It's only sometimes, which is a little bit fishy. And actually, times when my stress is higher, I'm more likely to get that migraine. So maybe it's less to do with the lacquer and more to do with some other things. So, she let that one go. And I absolutely love how Nicole said, I'll give them back to you at any time. Like, I have a misery back guarantee. You can have all your diagnoses back whenever you want, but you can trust them with me if you're willing to let go of them for a bit and just see how that feels to start to explore the nervous system regulation and the brain retraining approach to these symptoms instead. And then in time, you can slowly pass them over. So you can write these out on your index cards as well. You can trust them with a trusted person in your life, or if you want, you can give them to me. I don't need to be sitting right in front of you, but just have that conversation and just see what it feels like to pass them over. And I promise you that I will keep them safe and that I have a misery back guarantee and will give them back to you whenever you like as well. And something that's really helpful in exercises like this, where you're re-examining, being curious about these diagnoses that you have, is there are signs that help us to see that these might be neuroplastic in nature as opposed to being caused by this diagnosis that we were given. Like that one example of, sometimes they come on and sometimes they don't, or maybe they only come on in a certain time of day, or maybe stress brings them on, or maybe they move around in your body, or maybe you have 27 different symptoms. I mean, the chance of you having some sort of multi-systemic organ shutdown that's causing all of these symptoms is really, really, really low. And I have a symptom assessor completely free. I'll link it in the video description that helps you walk through this. It is not a diagnostic tool, but it is just a way to start looking at some of those common things that go along with these neuroplastic symptoms and just see how many of your symptoms are checking those boxes. And it can help you to better figure out if this approach of brain retraining and nervous system regulation might be effective for you, as it has been for so many people around the world. And after you watch that interview with Nicole Sachs that you have bookmarked, I'm also going to put up here the one I did that I also mentioned with Dr. Howard Schubiner. It is also an absolute must watch. Watch it multiple times. I guarantee you'll learn something new every single time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in these next interviews with Nicole Sachs and Howard Schubiner.